welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. But today on the show, we got something a little bit different for you. First of all, we've got what's essentially a revisiting of our Missing Pieces series. We haven't done one of these in like 2 years now, where we take a look at a movie from a very specific era of film, kind of between 2000 and 2018 when I started this podcast, and take a look at some films that the featured movie inspired, and also take a look at some films that possibly inspired the featured movie. And not only is it one of those, but it's also a part of a conversation from another podcast that I did. This is all part of this crossover coverage that I'm doing with Jeff Walker of Jeff Does Vegas podcast and Dayvid Figler of CityCast Las Vegas, all to celebrate the 15-year anniversary of The Hangover. So we're going to be talking about The Hangover. This conversation here is a piece of a full hour and a half long, I think it was, conversation that we had over on Jeff Does Vegas podcast about The Hangover, about where we were as fans of Las Vegas at the time when The Hangover came out, about The Hangover's impact on Las Vegas itself and Hollywood and movies. And of course, we get into a whole bunch of movies that were inspired by The Hangover and some that inspired The Hangover itself. So that's what's coming up here in a second. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. So, with that said, let's get to this conversation about The Hangover. The 2000s were a really great time for funny, like just totally balls to the wall comedies. And Step Brothers right in there, Borat. This being 2009, it's kind of like transitioning into a little bit different for what we've had in like the 2010s. I feel like things got maybe a little bit more heartfelt. You know, the Apatow thing was continuing to grow. And I think that, attitudes change a little bit as we continue on. But this is like squarely in that early 2000s kind of vein of just anything goes comedy.
And the movie it had a huge impact on Hollywood too. There was a lot of movies that were inspired by The Hangover that came afterwards. And we wanted to discuss these and sort of riff back and forth on some of these movies. And I've got a list of a few movies that I think kind of come off of that. And you had mentioned you have a list as well. Yeah. I'll start with the big one that I think it would probably be, I would say, the female equivalent of The Hangover, and that would be Bridesmaids.
Yes, absolutely. That is a great one to include here. And we just used the phrase men behaving badly. Women can behave badly too.
That movie, I remember seeing Bridesmaids for the first time and being as equally impressed with Bridesmaids as I was with The Hangover. Like, even down to the gross out humor that you wouldn't expect from a movie that's about bridesmaids, that's about a bachelorette party, that's about, the process of women getting ready for a wedding. I mean, when she gets the food poisoning, and when they all get the food poisoning from the bad shrimp and they're all shitting in the sink and she's dropping it out, like that's boy humor.
Yeah.
Like, not to be sexist or stereotypical, but that's 13-year-old boy humor. That's fart jokes and poop jokes. And that's not stuff that girls are supposed to do.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, it's all about the friendship, really, even though we sit through 90 minutes of that kind of humor. When it comes down to it, it's about the friendship of these really charismatic leads that all have great chemistry with one another. And yeah, I think that's a great one to kick this off with. I'm going to go for my first one with Hot Tub Time Machine, which was the next year. And it was Rob Corddry, John Cusack, Clark Duke, and Craig Robinson as a bunch of guys kind of all stuck in a rut. They want to get away from their lives that are so terrible with their families, and have a little vacation, some guy time, and they end up in this hot tub that's a time machine, as the title tells you, and all kinds of insane stuff happens. And yes, we're getting a little bit, science fiction-y, I guess, in the setup here, but kind of similar in a way to how with the Hangover, they just have absolutely no idea where they're going to end up as they start, trying to go backwards through their night. And that traveling backwards and kind of discovery of what happened in the past, it is there in the Hangover, even though they're not literally moving through time. But by the end, you've got all those friendships, you've got all of these insane adventures that they've been through. And I think it's just kind of like another group of friends that you get to know. You get to know how much they all get on each other's nerves and all that insanity. And I think it's a really fun one too.
I talked a little bit about in our watch along episode about a movie now that I feel like I'm more in line with. Again, 15 years ago when I was going to Vegas, I was more in line with The Hangover. Now I'm pushing 50. Vegas trips have changed very much for me. But the movie that I thought kind of is one of my new favorites is Las Vegas.
Nice.
With Robert De Niro, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Kline, Michael Douglas. 4 guys, they're going to Vegas for Michael Douglas's, I don't know, 3rd wedding or 4th wedding. His character is marrying some young little hottie.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you've got Robert De Niro's character, who's a recent widower, and all. Like, that whole process of them going to Vegas really cracked me up, because you've got these 4 old guys who are trying to look after themselves, and it's a very different Vegas experience for these guys, but somehow they end up in a high roller suite at the Aria, and they're partying in the pool with LMFAO, judging bikini contests. Like, it was such a, I thought it was a fun movie. Like, it was such a really enjoyable movie for me. Geographical errors aside, one of the spots is one of the ones that still sticks with me to this day is they're walking out of the front of the Mirage and they say, okay, let's head to the Aria. And they're heading north.
Oh.
And I'm like, no.
A sin.
You're taking the long way around. If you're going to the Aria from the Mirage and you're heading north, you're taking the long way around. Just one of those stupid Vegas geographical errors that again drives me nuts and sticks with me and makes me, when I'm watching, go, oh, yeah. No, that's not right.
Absolutely.
That's not right. So yeah. But yeah, Las Vegas is one of my all-time favorites. That, again, Hangover with old guys.
Yeah,
basically.
And I'm so glad you brought this one up, because I've actually never seen it. I've always wanted to. It's been on my watch list for a while now, and I'm going to have to watch it. But it also was making me think, because I was thinking about this one, obviously the Hangover 2 and 3, weren't as successful as the first one. Do we think 10, 15 years from now, could we see a Las Vegas-esque actual Hangover sequel?
Oh, that would be so good, actually.
Yeah.
That would actually be really enjoyable.
Yeah.
To see a down the road, where did all these guys end up and what is going on in their lives?
Yeah.
Really. I think it would actually be kind of brilliant.
Yeah. And it writes itself. It could just be one of their kids' bachelor party that they tag along on, and so it's just super easy for a premise. But I definitely got to watch Las Vegas. I'm going to stay in Vegas for my next one and go with The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, which I haven't seen since the theater. I don't really know if it holds up, if it's, really all that funny, but Steve Carell and Jim Carrey are basically dueling Vegas musicians, very much in like the Chris Angel style of like, just, kind of shock magic or whatever you call that. And just using the Vegas backdrop, like all of the show business of Las Vegas, these big shows, which just keep getting bigger and keep getting more and more ridiculous. And that is something that we're now in 2024. This movie is from 2013. It's only gotten bigger and it's only gotten more prevalent on the Strip. And I would imagine by now the shows really are as ridiculous as Burt Wonderstone's show in the movie. But yeah, I bet it still holds up. I bet it's pretty fun.
One of the ones that sticks with me is that I again is kind of in the same vein of the women behaving badly. Is Bad Moms.
Yeah.
That one and the Bad Moms Christmas Party. I mean, both of those movies thrown in together were great. But I remember, again, Bad Moms, seeing that movie and seeing um, and not to sort of harp on this, but seeing women doing that style of comedy,
Hmm.
I thought was brilliant and really kind of unexpected because previously, prior to movies like Bridesmaids and Bad Moms and that sort of stuff, you didn't see that style of comedy from female actors and female comedians. And to throw a movie and a cast like Bad Moms together and have such a different sort of um such an interesting premise of you've got, it's a group of moms, typical PTA people involved in all their kids' lives. And one day that's it. They're done.
Hmm.
They've had it and they're going to go crazy. To me, I absolutely love that. And again, sort of falls in that vein of, again, buddy comedy, but you've got, not gross out comedy, but still buddy comedy and behaving badly. And there you go. I just thought that, again, such an interesting sort of movie and fits in that Hangover sort of inspired set.
Sure, absolutely. Well, since you're bringing Bad Moms to this, I was actually thinking about really all of Lucas and Moore, John Lucas and Scott Moore. They're the writers of The Hangover. They wrote Bad Moms. They wrote The Change Up with Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman, and then a movie from 2016. Same year as Bad Moms, actually, Office Christmas Party, which I never saw that one, but that whole kind of genre of this kind of thing that was, exactly what was going on with The Hangover. And these guys just kind of stuck in that genre and pumped out a bunch of movies that I think all did really well for the most part. And I'm curious what they're up to nowadays. I haven't really heard their names lately. They're probably doing something on TV, but still, all these movies kind of take that formula and run with it. And Bad Moms is probably the best of the bunch of that example, but definitely.
Office Christmas Party was a very funny movie.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed that movie. And I think part of that too, I mean, it was just, all in all, it was a good movie. It was funny. I think that was TJ Miller that was in that. Jennifer
I think
Aniston was
so.
in that as well. And Jennifer Aniston, she was kind of coming off of that Horrible Bosses
Hmm.
run as well, which again, Horrible Bosses 1 and 2, you had a couple of movies there, same idea, sort of fitting in that dark comedy, raunchy comedy buddy movie, similar characters. You've got the strong guy, you've got the weak guy, you've got the
Sure.
whatever. And Jennifer Aniston is this horrible, horrible person. She was kind of coming off of that same level of comedy and going into Office Christmas Party. And again, a very, very funny movie. I that was one I did pick that my wife and I watched, and it kind of almost sort of got me back the privilege of choosing movies, but not quite.
It was almost there, just not quite. Yeah.
That close to redeeming myself on that one.
Amazing.
A movie that I just came across recently that I saw the trailer for that I think I'm actually going to have to watch, and again in this same sort of Hangover vein, was a movie called Rough Night with Scarlett Johansson's in it, Kate McKinnon's in it, and they do a bachelorette party. And they hire a male stripper, and the male stripper dies.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to figure out what they're going to do with the body. And so you've almost got a Weekend at Bernie's thing going on here as well. And actually, some of the clips out of the trailer, there are some parts where they're cruising down the street with this dead male stripper guy sticking out of the sunroof of the car wearing sunglasses and a Santa hat. So, I mean, again, Weekend at Bernie's kind of thrown in there for kicks as well. But again, it looked kind of funny, and it's one that I may actually have to go and hunt down. Just came out, I think it was 2021 that one came out, so not that long ago. But yeah, Rough Night, Scarlett Johansson, Kate McKinnon in it. Looked funny. Looked very funny, actually.
Yeah, I saw that when it came out. I can't remember how funny it was, but yeah, it's a great setup for, like, honestly, any kind of movie like that where these people just get way in over their heads, where there's just no, they are so ill-equipped for the situation they've gotten themselves into, which is a big part of The Hangover, of course. Like, they just are so screwed. Every moment of the way that their night goes is really, really fun. That kind of applies to my next one, which is Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates from 2016. This is Zac Efron and Adam Devine. They're two guys who they need wedding dates for a destination wedding in Hawaii, and they put out an ad because they don't have girlfriends, and they're just kind of playboys, and they don't care, and so they put out an ad for a couple of dates to just kind of show up with them. And they think they hit the jackpot when they find Anna Kendrick and Aubrey Plaza, and they just seem like so awesome, but they turn out to be just complete lunatics. And everything just goes completely crazy from there, as you can imagine. And, you get the wedding setting, you get, everything just going to hell, and just the pure insanity of that kind of a setup. It's actually a really fun movie. And if you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out.
I like the idea of, again, the characters getting in way over their heads and not being able to handle the situation. That's kind of right up there with a couple of other movies too. Games Night.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
And which was a movie I watched on an airplane, and I hate watching movies like that on an airplane because I'm that guy who's wearing the headphones and I'm trying not to laugh out loud.
You have
to. Not be that guy who all of a sudden out of nowhere on the airplane is going, ha! I don't want to be that guy. And then the other one that was sort of in that same vein was Tag.
Yes.
Which again, I thought was such a ridiculous movie, but with such a crazy premise. But again, within that same ilk and genre of that whole same crazy situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are both really good. And I think they were both 2018, if I'm not mistaken, but another interesting year for comedies. But yeah, both really funny movies. We did Tag on the podcast, like the first year I was doing Piecing It Together. And I bet we probably mentioned The Hangover as a puzzle piece for it. It seems like it would fit. But yeah, very fun movie. And Game Night is great. Rachel McAdams is so good in that movie. She is hilarious.
One other one that I wanted to hit on that wasn't so much, it wasn't a movie that was inspired by The Hangover, but kind of flipping the script a little bit. Bachelor Party, 1984, Tom Hanks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
there's your Hangover inspiration right there again. And I mean, when you take it back that far and you look at a movie like that, the stuff that they were getting away with in that movie, a million times further than what they were getting away with in The Hangover.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want, I've got one more movie for my list that is something that The Hangover might have inspired. But just to mention things that inspired The Hangover, I do have a few other things here written down. Since you brought that one up, I'll just throw in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle as far as these kind of into the night movies where like anything can happen and will happen. It's kind of like its own genre. And I think that would be a really good example of that. As far as Vegas movies go, Swingers and Maid, you have to include the whole, that whole thing with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau and everything that they get up to. And then of course, Vegas Vacation, you got to include that too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Vegas Vacation is a movie that I've seen probably about 1 billion times. Mm-hmm. It's right up there with in my sort of mandatory watch with, pre-Vegas trip movies. It's like The Hangover, Las Vegas, Vegas Vacation, nice. And then I'll throw Casino in there just because.
Why not? Yeah, absolutely. Nowadays, that would be what inspired Todd Phillips, but with his Joker movies and stuff like that. But I will go with Ricky Stenicki as my 2024 movie that I wanted to include here. Speaking of Zac Efron, he is the main star of this, but Ricky Stenicki is played by John Cena, who is kind of, if you roll up all of the insane cameo characters that our Hangover guys end up interacting with throughout their crazy Vegas night, all rolled up into one maniac, that is Ricky Stenicki. And it is a really fun movie. Have you seen it? Yeah.
I have not. No, I think it's on Amazon Prime. If I'm not mistaken.
It is.
And I've seen it show up and I've kind of been like, I don't know. If this is one that maybe,
yeah, it depends on your level of stupidity that you're okay with, but oh my God, is it dumb? And I feel like there's a lot there that kind of fits in with the same dynamics of the friend group of The Hangover. But then you've got the Ricky Stenicki character who just, pour it with gasoline and light the match, and just everything just goes, balls to the wall. It also has another really fun thing where the poor wives or girlfriends or fiancés that just have to put up with these idiots. You know what I mean? That is a really fun thing about The Hangover, something that we didn't really even talk about. Like Ed Helms' wife is so funny in The Hangover. That character is just great, and you get a lot of that kind of stuff with Ricky Stenicki too.
That's one I'll have to put on the list. I'll add it to my list of movies to watch on Prime.
Yeah.
And add it in and watch something new as opposed to the Hangover for the 875th time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I think that does it for The Hangover, Jeff. Tell people where they can find you and your podcast and the rest of the conversation that we had about The Hangover.
So online, as people will go to any of the big podcast apps and platforms, of course, the big ones, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those, you can find it there. You can also just go straight up to jeffdoesvegas.com. Got every episode ever released for the podcast is on there, including our Hangover watch along, which was a lot of fun to do with me, you, and Dayvid Figler from CityCast Las Vegas, where we basically sat and we watched the entire movie in its entirety, The Hangover, start to finish, and which was kind of fun and kind of interesting. And setting it up with the cue to press play, we invite you to queue up your own copy of The Hangover, listen for the 3, 2, 1 countdown, press play, and watch along with us, or you can just, of course, listen to us talk and giggle our way through the movie as well.
I did giggle most of the time, honestly.
There was a lot of giggling going on in that movie. It was so much fun to put together. And this was a lot of fun as well.
Right on. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for doing this. And hey, hopefully we'll do another collaboration at some point.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about The Hangover. It was kind of like a breaking it apart episode, or kind of like a missing pieces episode. I wasn't quite sure as we went into it what it would end up being. I feel like it kind of was a little of both, so it was a little bit of a weird one, but it was going to be a weird one anyway, since it was part of this overall conversation. And you should go check out that whole overall conversation over on the Jeff Does Vegas podcast. We had a really fun time talking about a lot more about this movie, about all of the actors involved, Todd Phillips, the impact on Las Vegas, which, speaking of the impact on Las Vegas, you could also go check out the CityCast Las Vegas, which I haven't recorded yet at the time of this recording. I'm speaking in the past about the future. I'm recording it this afternoon, but by the time this goes up, it will be recorded and out there, and you'll be able to hear 3 conversations about The Hangover that all include me, as well as the Jeff Does Vegas watch along, which you could queue up right as you push play on The Hangover, the movie itself, and listen to us comment on the film as it is playing out. So a whole bunch of Hangover stuff to listen to, and it was really fun revisiting this movie. So thank you to Jeff for putting all this together, and thanks to Dayvid Figler, and thank you to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, make sure you are subscribed wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. Join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces. Don't forget, we do have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I post bonus and advanced content from Piecing It Together, Awesome Movie Year, and from my music career. Lots of great stuff over there. Patreon.com/byDavidRosen. I appreciate you all being just out there listening, sharing the show, sending in your puzzle pieces, which, by the way, if you've got any films that you think we missed that, really should have been a part of the conversation of movies inspired by The Hangover, send them in. I'd love to hear them. But you could always subscribe to the Patreon if you want to support the show as well. It is very appreciated. So I always close all of our episodes out with a piece of my music. And I've mentioned a little bit here and there over the years about back in college, my old comedy rap stuff. And I usually don't talk about it too much because by today's standards, it's terrible and maybe a little offensive. But for a movie like The Hangover, and specifically this time period of being in Las Vegas, I kind of have to play a piece from that because a part of my hangover stories would be being out drunk or whatever, doing these shows around Las Vegas as the Polar Bear MCs, my old comedy rap group, and all of our little offshoots of it. So I'm going to play one of the songs from that, which is probably our most known, quote unquote, around the local music scene song, which is called Who Got the Motherfucking Crack Rocks. So I'm going to play that song from our debut album, I Hope You Melt, and then hopefully never speak of this ever again. So hope you enjoy it. We'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
Storytelling, which is gory selling spells. Amaze, crack cells, keep it in paper bags so it doesn't smell. Well, how many rocks would you like, Mike? Man, I got no money, you can just have my life. Man, get off your knees and stop begging and give me your little sister's bike. This shit'll make you feel like you're a stereo. Even though you're bald, you'll think you look like Howard Stern, Hubbard, and Mariah Carey, yo. Here we go. Karate Olympics, my only fans are twin chicks. MC Random got donkeys tongue-tied with its French kiss. We chill in the gorilla habitat, it says we got crack on our doormat. Can I borrow some money? Why, Pat? MC Random's in jail for eating the neighborhood cat. Fucking bitch in the ass with a wombat, then she shit on my mouse. Splat. Ooh, that's so nice. Man, that ain't true. Who got the motherfucking honky-tonk bluegrass style? I do.
Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Who got the crack? It's like rapping and killer fools that killer corpse that doesn't lack. Random Jewish date, but as hot as MC, bitch, that's a fact. Underneath Christmas tree wreath, wider than Pee-wee's teeth. Crows flying by, shot from the sky. Harmonity's better than NSYNC. Bye. We snort 1,000 pounds a day while dancing with dwarfs that are very short. Eating does not exist when I'm on the rocks. It's a pipe of Superman lighter, you must not resist, or you'll be on Random's hit list. Tasting frogs and monkeys, kids and cubs. Make sure I'm always packed with enough dubs. Butter and G.I. Joe, a combination of love. Fly over the sky and shit on a dove. Crack rocks, finalize your experiment in the microwaves and stoves. A drunk girl talking about the muff, Random already dove. Fuck these mutants, you'll end up in the cut into a 16 pieces moldy Albertson globes. A red, slit you from gut, pull out your insides and replace it with lead. Any way you talk, if you're a man, a cow, and moo. Throw it in Campbell's soup for monkey stew. Bitch. Who got the crack? Random does, I do.
Random does, I do. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Crack rocks, buy 'em and sell 'em, that's my game. Jewish David Skeleton TV, one and the same. And same motherfucker writing hot gangster tracks. Killer corpse and motherfucker, what you know about that? You don't know shit, motherfucker, so just stop being silly. If you want for a recorder, you can touch my willy. Samurai Sam knows the game, stab you with my sword. Come talking to shit and we'll pull your cord. Out the walls of the halls of the house where you were raised. When your mom heard my verse, you know she was truly amazed. Many love our shit, and the haters are only few. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks? I do. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Spill slurpees and calligraphies. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks and herpes? No, speak and sing raps. Dookie braids and kindergarten naps. So cracked out, we're smoking crack out of our hands, yo on. Here's a plan, I'ma fuck you in the ass until dawn, man. Acclaim MCs, play video games on our knees. Polar Bear thermoses, Jewish Dave curses his. Fuck, bad luck, I'm his best rapper and I suck. By 2003, we'll be doing college shows with Puck. Who cares? Fuck a bitch and come in her hair. Spooky MCs, haunting your house, beware. Don't stare, my furry hair will scare ya. Fuck a hoe named Joan in the navel and call her Sarah. Mandolin MCs, rapping from our knees. Partying in Paris with Penny Hardaway and Pepe Le Pew. Who got the motherfucking home-baked white rocks? I don't know, I do.
Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Who got the motherfucking crack rocks?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
An All Points West production, produced by Dayvid Rosen in Las Vegas.